Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Angela Shurina. I'm your host, I'm your Brains Coach, and it is my job here to bring to you all the best, cutting edge, most useful, extraordinary, exciting, and most effective brain body tools so you can feel, look, and do your best. As promised, today we are continuing our conversation about the 80-20 happiness. If you are just joining our podcast, on Monday we started talking about the book The 80-20 by Richard Koch, The Secret of Achieving More with Less. And it's all about maximizing the effective and happiest things in our life. When it comes to our career, to business, it's all about focusing more energy, more of our time, more of our efforts on 20% of things that we do that bring us 80% of the results. And it just happens to be that way, that's how nature works. That's how the world works. Most of the results you're gonna get disproportionately from 20% or so of the things you do. So on Monday, we discussed this principle in that it's not exactly 80-20. It's just a reflection. The whole book talks about the idea, this reflection of truths of how things are in the world, that the world is unbalanced and maximum quality and maximum return on investment on our time and our energy, everything in nature seems to be getting from those 20%, sometimes it's 10%, sometimes it's 30%. But the idea is that what we get out of the effort we put in is unbalanced. And so we as human beings have this ability versus nature, for example. We have this ability to design our work and our life, our happy hours, in such a way that we maximize those 20% and make them maybe 30, 40, and 50, and 60. And so, for example, if we, in our work, maximize our focus, our time, our energy spent in those 20%, then we can expand those 20% to be, again, 30, 40, 50%. And instead of having to work, let's say, on a thing for 5-6 days, we actually will need just a couple of days. And that's where the power, that's where the riches of any 20 are. And also, if you think about any leader, any successful business person, anyone who you admire for what they achieved, think about why you admire them. And all of a sudden you realize that you admired them for a very niche, very specific thing. And that those people who reap the most rewards in our world, people who we admire as great, they focus on very specific thing, on those 20%, and they expand those 20% in their lives to occupy a lot more than 20%. And they develop greatness in those 20%. Usually those are the things that they're good at, that they're talented at, that they are better than an average person. And so they just maximize that thing and they become great. They become world known for that specific thing. We know people not for them to be great people overall, but for a very niche skill set, talent thing. And people who reap the most rewards in this world, folks, they are those 80-20% people who focus the majority of their time, energy, and effort on a very small set of things. Again, take Elon Musk. Do you know him for a lot of things? No, only for his work in a couple of industries. And even that is probably an outlier. Jeff Bezos, do you know him for a lot of things? No, he developed this, first the best bookstore and then this best overall online retailer and tapping into all the different areas. Now, at some point, maybe on Friday, we're going to touch upon how to build that kind of business that is called category king, where you become a category king or you occupy certain niche, most predominantly as one player, as a monopoly, and then you expand. So that's what Jeff Bezos did. That's what also Mark Zuckerberg did. But that's not the point. We know those great people for a very specific thing, not for many different things, but for a very specific thing. Or you take an athlete, right? They dedicate their basically entire life for a period of time to only one thing, and that's who get known, and that's who get the most reward in this world. That's who become the 1%, the ultra successful people. I'm not talking about people who inherit their riches, etc. I'm talking about people who make themselves from zero to extraordinary success. If you think about anyone you admire, again, those are 80-20% of people who understood at some level this principle and applied it fully, just jumped into that, dived into that, and that's how you know them, and that's how they became popular, and that's how they got so many rewards, right? So 80-20 works, whether a person know about that or not. So we started our conversation about 80-20 on Monday, so please listen to that, how you can apply it in your career, how I'm applying it in my career, and actually working on applying it more so I become world class. And I do want to become world class, and it takes, of course, to become world class, to become world known, it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of effort, but it's only also possible if you focus the majority of your efforts on that one thing that you are already good at, better than an average person, but you really need to focus and double down. If you also take people like Alex Hormozi, if you heard about him, also when he talks about his journey, he also talks a lot about the focus, how when he grew any business, first it was gym launch, and now it's launching and growing other companies, he focuses only on one thing or on a very few things. And that's the secret. Also, on Monday, we started talking about happiness and how this same principle, the 80-20, has the potential to make you the happiest version of yourself that is possible. We talked about this concept of happiness islands. So anything that is related to career and applying 80-20% principle there is about achievement islands, those islands of effort that bring you the most results. And then we started talking about happiness islands, or those activities, people, events that bring you 80% of your happiness. And usually, again, if you don't design for it consciously, those happiness islands also are about 20% or less, or a little bit more, not evenly distributed. But again, as a human being, you have this capacity to actually design your life knowing this principle, and then you're not going to have just 20% of things that will deliver to you 80% of happiness. You can have 30 and 40 and 50%. And how do you do that? So the principle is simple. You focus, you analyze your life and things and people and events and experiences that bring you the most happiness. And we talked about how, for me, for example, going out to restaurants and nightclubs never was, part of my happiness island, never brought me really any happiness. The connections I got with people never felt really deep, and the kind of people I was spending time with when go to nightclubs a lot, usually not the kind of people who I would want to spend a lot of time in my regular life. But that's not even a point. The whole experience was just not my happiness island. It's just not something I enjoyed. And so instead of feeling guilty and wasting my time on that because I felt like, people I know go, so I should go. Instead of that, I decided, that's not my thing. I experience joy and happiness doing other things like climbing mountains or being in nature or doing something active or learning different skills and crafts, right? So why don't I maximize that? So that's the idea of your happiness islands. And in the book, there is also this theme throughout the whole book is that people who live this 80-20 principle, who achieve extraordinary success and quality of life, usually by design, those people divorce feeling of guilt because because of somebody else thinks they should be doing other things or spending more time on other things, or because their life is not normal, quote unquote, right? Those people learned how to divorce that feeling of guilt. And so I decided that I'm also going to divorce feeling guilty by not liking things or doing things that a lot of people believe are normal and are supposed to enjoy. So that's the beginning of the happiness theme. And on Monday, please listen to that episode for all these fascinating stories and facts, and talk about a career, how I'm applying 80-20 from now on in my life. All of that is on Monday. And also on Monday, I shared 7 habits that Richard Koch wrote about in the book 7 Habits of Happiness, that seem to be the theme for not just Richard Koch, but all the happy people. Like, if you do those 7 things daily, you're probably going to feel happy every single day, believe it or not. So even just that list, worth listening to the podcast that we did last time. And today, as promised, I wanted to share with you, first of all, strategies for a long-term happiness. Like, how do you design your life so you do end up feeling happy and having a meaningful, fulfilling life experience throughout your life, right? How do you optimize for a long-term happiness and fulfillment? So you're about to learn that now. And then also, I'm going to share with you where a lot of seemingly productive people, ambitious people, specifically I'm talking about entrepreneurs and self-employed people, self-starters. If you work for somebody else, but you're a self-starter, you know what kind of success you want, you know what kind of life you want to design. My recent experiences gave me a bit of an insider picture where people lose a lot of their time. Now, we're going to jump into time a little bit later. We're going to return to happiness now, but stay tuned. You're gonna have some aha moments, I promise you, and you'll see where you waste a lot of time unnecessarily instead of focusing on those 20% that can make you world-class, world-known, and can make you a very happy person without having to, purchase a lot of things that don't actually, as research show, bring long-term happiness. So now back to long-term happiness. What are the things that you need to maximize according to, again, data research on other people and human nature and the longest living and happiest living people? Like, what are the things you want to maximize in your life to feel happy? Number 1, increasing control in your life. The more things you can control in your life, the happier you're going to be. And it has actually also neuroscience research backing it up. Like, for example, when you feel in control, you feel less stress, your cortisol levels go down, your amygdala, the fear center, calms down, and you feel more feeling good chemicals like serotonin, for example, or dopamine, those GABA, those molecules in your brain that make you feel again calm and happy, almost satisfied. You get more of them when you feel like you have more control over any situation. And very often, yes, there are a lot of things that you can start working on to increase control, from your career to your personal time to your leisure. Control. The more you can create of it, the happier you're going to be long term. Now, in some cases, it's just a matter of perspective or focus. Where do you focus? Do you focus on things you can control or things you cannot control? Now, in the world, there are many things that we will not control. If you're not a politician in the center of politics, and you don't have some rank there that you can influence events, then thinking about how politics are bad or how politicians are stupid or something like that, that's going to help to increase your confidence, right? If you're constantly dissatisfied with politics, but you're never going to do anything about that, why focus there? It's not something you want to control or you are in control of, or weather, right? Why would anyone be upset about weather or be frustrated because, it doesn't go according to the plan? Well, it's weather. It's not supposed to go according to the plan. So don't focus there. So control, yes, it's about proactive actions, designing your life, your career, in a way that increases control. Like the same goes for relationships, personal and professional, and things again you do in your life. But it's also about switching your focus. Not everything in life you'll be able to control, but if you focus more on things that you can control right now, then you're going to be a happier person. And you can start small. Focus on controlling your food and your breakfast, and maybe how you spend the first hour of your day and the last hour of your day. Those things don't have to be there right away, but you can build up to them. That's also the idea that goes throughout the whole book. You don't have to be perfect now. Nothing has to be perfect or as good as you'd like it to be right now. But now that you're aware of the concepts, you can work your way towards that, like increasing that control. That's why for me, even if entrepreneurial journey is often challenging and there are a lot of struggles, uncertainty, unpredictability, but it's also the kind of journey that you have a lot more control over. And that's why I personally love it. I noticed a long time ago, when I feel like somebody else is controlling my life and my decisions, this is a sure way to unhappiness very soon. So I focus on that control. And again, not in a sense that I want to control everything, but making a conscious decision to design a life, to design my work in a way where I'm the decision maker most of the time. The second one, attainable goals. So having the goals that you are working on, goals that give you the sense of progress, that also, by the way, has brain chemistry, biochemistry behind that. So when you're working on your goals, sip of water, folks, stay hydrated. When you're working on your goals, when you're getting progress, you start creating dopamine. You start creating those feel-good chemicals in your brain. You increase also adrenaline to the degree that it optimizes your energy levels, right? You feel engaged, you feel alive, you feel focused. That's what attaining goals does to you. And plus, it gives you the feeling of growth. And human beings are not fulfilled, are not satisfied when we feel stuck and not growing, not developing. That's just how we are. That's how we are wired. That's what dopamine does to us. So attainable goals, having sort of feeling of direction and moving forward progress. That's the way to be happy and to stay happy. Being flexible, back to this idea of weather. You plan things and then the weather changes and you got to be able to accept that as fast as possible as a part of life. I used to be frustrated and obsessed and almost stressed by things that didn't go as planned. But then at some point I realized this is so silly. Life is not supposed to go to your plan. What you plan in your head is just in your head. Why the world should be like you imagine it to be. Why other people should be like you want them to be. This is a ridiculous demand from the world. And once you realize that the normal is actually things not going as I plan, I kind of chilled out. I'm like, well, this thing happened. Just make sure you prepare for as many things in your business, in your life as possible. If it shines, you do this. If it rains, you do that. Have those options. And when the options occurs, you just do the plan or the option that you created for that specific plan. Being flexible and, back to control. Yes, you want to increase control in your life, but you don't want to be an inflexible, rigid person who expands and demands things that are not really in your control to be exactly as you want them. So be flexible. Mental cognitive flexibility, changing, adapting. That's also has been researched in neuroscience and by psychologists. So people who have this, they experience much less stress and they are happier. They just adapt and take life as it is and deal with it. Close partnership. So that means your life partner, having close relationship with them that feels fulfilling, where you're connected and can be your true self. That's also very important and correlates with long-term happiness. Friendships, fewer but deeper and closer social circle, deep, lasting social connections. Humans are social creatures, but it seems like they always say the world is getting lonelier, more and more people feel disconnected, and that may be because we kind of lost touch with this um, need to be social and feel deeply connected and feel and be surrounded by like-minded people. Maybe nobody teaches us anymore the skill of how do you actually build friendships and connections that are lasting, that are trusting, that are fulfilling, the relationship where, again, you can be yourself and you're there and other people are there for you to support each other no matter what. So friends, close relationships, not a lot of people, but close relationships. And at some point, I just knew a lot of people and didn't have close relationships, but then I worked on that. And now whenever a person who I believe can become, a friend, and we're going to jump into professional alliances in a second. When I believe that this person, we have the potential to develop close relationship, I put effort there. I show up for other people. Whenever I can think of something I can do to advance their journey, to make their life better, I do that. I show up for my family also. They are far away from me, but every day I call them, every day I connect with them, and whenever I can do anything to help them, to make their day better, I do. So relationships, they're an investment. And if you don't want to feel lonely, just connect deeper with other people, and the right people will stick around and do the same for you. But again, what research and data shows, close, deep relationships are the foundation of happiness, probably the most important foundation, actually. And then professional alliances. So having people who you professionally relate to. And I can just tell you about my experience. So at some point, I felt like I was alone on my journey and I didn't put effort in, because also I am still, and been for a while, a solopreneur. And so it felt, more complicated and difficult to connect with other people in my field. And sometimes you feel even threatened or competitive. But then I realized, no, we are in it together, and I can connect with other entrepreneurs, with other solopreneurs, with other experts, and can actually learn from them and enhance their work and cultivate partnering relationships. And once I started doing that and started being more proactive about that, I developed really great connections with a lot of people in my field. And I realized I'm not alone here. We're just not in the same company, but we are in the same field, on the same vibe. And if I put effort into delivering value into their lives, we're going to build great alliances that can benefit both of us, or many of us. So building professional alliances, I don't know about you folks, but for me, when I didn't have that, it felt, my work just didn't feel good. And all the challenges felt like they were only my own, and they felt heavier. Once I switched that around, that changed. And now, no matter how many challenges I experience, I feel like I'm in this team advancing this cause, and it feels much lighter. And I am so much more motivated to pursue the development of this sector, developing of human potential. Then I feel so much more motivated and aligned and, fulfilled now that I have these alliances that, again, took some time to develop. And that's my focus, and going to be my focus for probably till the rest of my life, those relationships, partnerships, friendships, family, and professional alliances. And last, but definitely not least, ideal lifestyle. Ideal lifestyle, folks, for many different people, it means different things. So over the past weekend, I had an experience with a person I admire, I like them. But when we got to spend a couple of days as roommates, I realized that their ideal lifestyle or what they can tolerate is so not like what I can tolerate in my life, that certain aspects of my lifestyle are so important and crucial to my happiness, to the work I do, to my inspiration and my well-being every day, that I'm just not anymore ready to trade them off for, something that might look even better, but for me, it's just not my happiness. So let me explain. For me, I stayed over the weekend in the city and I felt so unhappy because there was no nature. I couldn't walk by the ocean or in the park. And I immediately felt trapped, felt more stressed, felt unhappy. Like I need this connection to nature. I need to see ocean or mountains or parks, something. And I always choose a place where I live based on that because I know this need. And short exposure to city life without access to nature, it made me realize, yeah, it's still important and probably will be till the rest of my life. So I'm like, a note to self, do not put yourself in a city life environment. You'll feel unhappy very soon. So that's back to that ideal lifestyle. What's your ideal lifestyle? Some other things. In my place, in my apartment, that has to be a lot of light. If I feel like I'm in some dungeon, it affects the quality of my work, of life, of everything. Like for me, a light in the apartment is crucial. I spend a lot of time working on my content with my clients, just living there. And so light in my apartment is crucial. Ability to wake up early and go to bed early is crucial. Like never gonna change that. It's, if somebody forces me to do that, that's an end to relationships. So early wake ups and early going to bed times. Seeing sunrises and sunset on a regular basis, also my ideal lifestyle. Freedom over my schedule. Obviously, I already mentioned that. I'm the kind of person like freedom. I tell everyone is my number one value. If I cannot design my schedule, I'm going to be extremely unhappy. That's why I chose entrepreneurship, is because also I'm an 80-20 person, actually, naturally, like all of us are. I truly believe that. And when I'm employed by someone and I see the processes that are ineffective, that from my perspective are so inefficient and ineffective, I just cannot be there. And also I like to be able to work, if I need to, from 5 a.m. till 12 p.m. and make that my work day instead of 9 to 5 or whatever. I love that flexibility. I'm a hard worker, but I also require this flexibility, right? So freedom over my own schedule is my ideal lifestyle. Freedom to choose who I work with. Like, my clients, I choose them just as much as they choose me. I cannot work with a person who I just don't connect with, especially as a coach. It's kind of like more close, intimate relationship. Nourishing food and exercise, having a great gym that I absolutely love, connecting every day with my family. They're far away, but I'm working, on changing that. And that speaks back to the idea that spend time, write about your ideal lifestyle, what you know and what you want to explore, and then start moving into that direction. Now, connection with my family, for example, it's not ideal for me right now. I want to see my family at least every couple of 3 months, and ideally even more often. So in the ideal scenario for the next couple of years for me, it's designing the schedule of seeing each other regularly, but then also bringing my family where I am a lot more often and traveling together. So that's what I'm working towards, but it's not yet there. So I'm like, okay, what can I do now? I can call them every day. And so that's what I do. So back to the idea, not everything has to be perfect, but if you want to create more happiness and more fulfillment in your life over time, then you got to first understand what exactly do you need to create more of that happiness, of results, of fulfillment. Journal about that, write about that, figure yourself out, and then start working towards this truly deep and meaningful results and goals. And that's on long-term happiness. So let's recap. So I have a lot of notes here. Long-term happiness, increase control in your life. And again, the right kind of control. Don't try to control the weather. Attainable goals, be flexible, close partnerships with your partner, close friendships and professional alliances, and your ideal lifestyle. What is it for you? And start working on it. And now, shortly, let's talk about time. The whole book is obviously about managing your time, relocating your time and effort and energy into the actions that bring you the most results or the most fulfillment, the most happiness, right? This is the whole book is about intelligent time design, not time management, but designing. If you just manage time, you're just going to have a busy schedule. When you design it from a place of maximizing the return on your investment, you actually realize you have a lot more free time that you were just wasting. And now about the wasting time. So recent few experiences made me realize that a lot of people still waste a lot of time on activities that just, first of all, they don't bring any return on for fulfillment or happiness or results in your career. But somehow people don't think that that's a waste of time because they kind of seem necessary. And then that's the way people always did it. So what am I talking about here? Simple thing. People make a couple of hundreds of food decisions every day. That's a waste of time and your cognitive capacity. So what do? Decide what you're going to have for most days, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, when you're going to have it, shop for it like once a week or so, or decide what you're going to order. Just make very little food decisions, not necessary. Make very little wardrobe decisions. And for girls, for ladies out there, don't think about your makeup all the time. Have a couple of variations for your daily activities. Whenever you need to go somewhere to meet people, to work, or run errands. So have a variation for that, and then for special occasions, and be done with that. Make decision once. That's why Mark Zuckerberg, that's why Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Steve Jobs was very popular for that. They wear the same kind of clothing. They're not fashion icons, and that's because it allows you to spend your decisions, your time, your cognitive capacity somewhere else. It's not like they can't afford anything. No, they consciously choose to not waste their time on trivial decisions. The same with any 80-20 person you admire. They focus on what's important and they just let go of the rest. That's the only way any person who wants to become great and maximize happiness and achievement without over exerting themselves. That's what all these people do. It's like, it reminds me also of my mom. She's like, oh, Angela, I'm always busy. There is this thing to do, this thing to take care of, this errand, that errand. And she doesn't work anymore. She's retired. She's helping my sister with her kids, with her 3 kids. And yes, there are always things to do. Human beings will always occupy their time. It's not like somebody doesn't need to eat or doesn't need to exercise or doesn't need to sleep. No, people who achieve a lot more with the time that they have just eliminate unnecessary decisions like food decisions. Or another thing that I notice from my clients, people don't know what hours are best for their work when they do their best work, like creating the podcast or do their writing or interviewing other people or working with other people as a coach. When you do your best work, you do it faster, you spend less time, you spend less effort, and now you have a chunk of time that you can dedicate to getting better at work or creating more happiness, right? So know what hours are best and use them accordingly. Also, focus. When you do one thing, do one thing. Research shows that when you multitask, you lose 40 to 50% of your time and the quality of your work suffers by about 50%. You make more mistakes. You deliver poor quality of work. So a lot of people still don't understand the idea. Focus. When you do the thing, do the thing. Alex Hormozy on his recent podcast shared how when he works, he's in his cave. And that's exactly what I always recommend and work on with my clients. Eliminate all the notifications. Look at the white wall. Be in a box. Have earplugs if there is a lot of noise. Have good noise canceling headphones. Create the environment that doesn't distract you visually, audioly. Phone, if it's by your side, it's going to distract you even if it doesn't make any sound. It's a trigger for your brain to check it, to do something about it. Your thoughts will gravitate towards that. Research has been done. Your cognitive capacity is diminished when your phone is in your side. That's where you waste your time. I always ask myself when I do my work, can I delegate it? Can I partner with someone who can do the work and they will benefit because they love it and that's going to advance their journey? And for me, it's going to make things easier, right? Can you delegate? Can you outsource? Can you partner? That's how you create more results, by actually doing less. And back by doing less. I love this quote by Tim Ferriss and the 80-20 principle, the third edition actually dedicated to Tim Ferriss because he's the living, breathing example of the book. So the quote goes like this: believe it or not, it is not only achievable to do more with less, it is mandatory. What it means is, if you're the kind of person who wants achievement, maximize fulfillment, results, quality of life, you have to think differently. You have to figure out how to create more time and more results at the same time. And it just requires different thinking. And also not doing these silly things like that. Also, Alex Hermosi, for example, on his podcast yesterday shared his life hacks. He's like, I'm always trying to see where I can do two things for one. Like, for example, brushing my teeth while I'm on the toilet, or doing some work while I'm in the Uber, right? Doing or having meeting with my employees or my business partners while I eat, because I have to eat anyway, so might as well, combine those things. And I look at my life exactly like that. And I believe naturally all human beings look at their life like that. Just not all human beings focus on creating the life that makes this possible. And so now, folks, you have the recipe. You have the secret on how greats do that. You actually have the proven 100%, no exception formula for creating more results with less and creating more fulfillment and happiness, not a busy schedule. So now my question to you, are you going to use it? Are you going to change something in your life? Now you know that. Are you going to do things differently? Or you're going to be just like everybody else? And guess what? When you do what everybody else does, you're going to get exactly what everybody else gets. I don't know about you, but I do not like this scenario that what everybody else gets. So I'm committed to changing things in my life, and I invite you to do the same. If you'd like to join my journey, I'm going to share results here, and you're going to see things grow and expand in my life. Like, I have no doubt this is the formula how all the great people did it. So if you want to join my journey, connect somehow, please feel free to reach out, Angela@brainbreakthroughcoach.com. That's number one. Number two, in the show notes today, you're going to have an invitation to our regular audio Thursday that's happening this Thursday on LinkedIn, 30-minute audio event. And on that event, it's all about being personal excellence and creating more excellence and fulfillment in your life as well. This series are Unstoppable Entrepreneur series. And on this Thursday, we're talking about one of the most important things that you do every day, that everybody does every day, eating. And if you do the wrong thing, in the wrong way, you're going to waste your time, you're going to waste your energy, you're going to feel lousy, you're not going to be as productive, you're going to lose your health and fitness, and it's going to create a whole lot of other negative effects in your life and in your work. So how do you actually change your nutrition, your eating habits with all the hectic and busy schedules and not really having a lot of cognitive capacity to think through all the intricacies? Well, somebody like myself, nutritionist, nutrition coach with a decade of experience, can simplify it for you and show you that eating well for your health, fitness, and productivity can actually be very easy. And I have a lot of my clients to prove that. So check it out. Sign up. It's this Thursday. I am, I guess, Thursday. It's this Thursday on LinkedIn, 6 p.m. Central European Time, 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. So the link is in the show notes, absolutely free, 30 minutes, sign up. We probably already have like 40 people signed up. So sign up, bring your friends. It's going to be awesome. And that's it. Thank you, folks, for your attention. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate you on the other side of the microphone. And till next time, be awesome, apply it to 20, be non-ordinary so you get unbalanced, extraordinary return on all of your investment, and design for happiness. Talk to you very soon.